Oh, hi. Good morning, everyone. My name is James Whiting. As I said a few seconds ago, I'm the chair of the Teacher Education Interest section, and it is my pleasure to welcome you all this morning to our talk, where we'll be looking at the Language and Social Justice Initiative at Rutgers University with our speaker, Doa Rashed, who is a professor at Rutgers University. During the presentation will be recorded and it'll last about 60 minutes. Doa will speak about her initiative, about the Language and Social Justice Initiative at Rutgers. And then after she's done, we'll have time for questions. We ask that you keep your mic muted during the presentation. And if you want to ask a question, we'll do that after Doa speaks. And we'll just, we won't put the questions into the chat. We'll just raise your hand and we'll do questions orally afterwards. But we just ask that you keep your mic muted while she's speaking. As I said, it'll be recorded, and if you are registered for the event, which you are, you'll get a recording email from Nancy Flores at TEIS in about a week or so, and I'll also send that out. As I said, this is our October presentation for the Teacher Education Interest section. We're trying to do one of these every month. And we'll have another one on the 16th of November, and I'll give a brief summary of that towards the end. So in this webinar, we're very pleased to welcome Dr. Rashed, who is going to discuss the launch of the Language and Social Justice Initiative at Rutgers University-New Brunswick, and she'll talk about the three foci of the initiative: research, pedagogy, and community engagement. And it is my great pleasure to welcome Doa Rashed, PhD, who is I'm just going to take off my glasses to read here, translingual, transnational language educator and program strategist who works to advance diversity and inclusion in the study of language and cultures across the curriculum. She's an associate teaching professor and director of the Language Engagement Project and co-director of the Language and Social Justice Initiative at Rutgers University-New Brunswick. Prior to that, she was the director of the MA TESOL program and co-director of the TESOL Teacher Professional Training Program at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. She holds a doctorate in language literacy and culture with a concentration in language teaching and language learning, and an MA with dual concentrations in instructional systems development and bilingual education, all from the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. And it's our great pleasure to welcome Doa here this morning, and thank you all for joining us. And I'll now turn it over to Doa, who will speak. And as I said, when she's done, we'll do questions and just hold them until she's finished. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Doa Rashed. That's the Arabic pronunciation of my name, but I go by Doa because it's easier. And I don't have to explain how to pronounce dua. And that's something that reminds you of what your students sometimes try to do. And I don't think there is anything wrong with that. I'm an associate teaching professor at the English department at Rutgers University. When I first joined Rutgers 3 years ago, I'm starting my 4th year, I came as director of the Language Engagement Project. And the goal of this project was to develop curriculum that integrate languages and cultures in different disciplines. So we work with different faculty in different departments and schools in the university and encourage them to integrate language diversity and cultural diversity in the courses that they teach. Overall, the language engagement project, not the language and social justice, the project is meant to bring together different voices from different disciplines to discuss ways to promote language instruction at Rutgers University. So how did the Language and Social Justice Initiative start? The LAB, or the Language Engagement Project, has a steering committee that usually meets, at the beginning it was once a month, now we meet every 6 months to discuss any challenges, any opportunities that we see related to integrating languages and cultures across the curriculum. And at one of those meetings early in 2020, right after the pandemic, right after we stayed at home, and sometimes in March or April, there was a conversation about a grant that the Mellon Foundation was offering to support initiatives that look at racial justice, global racial justice. Rutgers received actually a $15 million grant to start the Institute on Global Racial Justice. And we wanted to put in a proposal for a small grant to start an initiative on language and social justice. So the Mellon Foundation was looking into something that is broader than language. Or to be honest, language is not really considered in many of those conversations as a diverse topic of diversity. And we wanted to put this on everyone's radar. We put the proposal for a grant. Unfortunately, we couldn't get the funding. However, we took that grant, changed the proposal, changed it a little bit to make it more suitable for what we want to do now that we don't have that kind of money. And we submitted the proposal to the chancellor, Rutgers chancellor at the time, who graciously supported the proposal, funding it for 2 years, and basically approved everything that we asked for. So I think this is one of the things that to say, well, we're lucky that we actually went with some support from inside the university, because with this kind of support, financial support, also we received an institutional support in terms of we had staff who were helping us. We were able to tailor the initiative events to the needs of the Rutgers community. In this initiative, although I am talking about it today, I can't take credit for everything that we're doing. I'm one of a large team of people who are helping, spearheaded by the Dean of Humanities, Rebecca Wakowitz. With me, also my colleagues, Nicole Hauser, Tom Stevens, and Kristen Surratt. All four of us are co-leaders or co-directors of the initiative, focusing on different areas. We were able to have Carly Dickerson as an associate postdoc associate on language and social justice. We also have an RA, research assistant. We have 2 staffing, and of course myself. Our goal for this initiative was to create opportunities for Rutgers faculty to collaborate with experts from other institutions, which we felt to be very important because Rutgers has a strong linguistics department, but what's lacking is a focus on sociolinguistics and racial linguistics. So we wanted to bring experts in the field to the Rutgers community for them to share what they have been doing, the research, and also for our community to be aware about the interdisciplinarity in examining language and society. So it's not only in linguistics, not only in English, it's not only ESL, it's a much larger conversation that we should have when we talk about language and social justice in healthcare or in the law and the justice system. And this is not linguistics only, this is linguistics plus law, social justice, policy, politics. All of these topics, all of these disciplines get together to discuss the phenomena of, say, language and the language used to describe a particular group in the jury system, for example, in the law. Also, we wanted to strengthen what is already existing as initiatives. So we felt that the Language and Social Justice Initiative would strengthen the language engagement project, because the language engagement project is always viewed as just offering foreign language instruction to the students, which is not what we do. We have a research agenda on language education, language teaching and learning, but we also have a research agenda on heritage language speakers, endangered languages, and we offer courses that are suitable for those types of research projects. So we wanted the initiative to serve the community at Rutgers by bringing in experts in, but also allow the community at Rutgers to engage in conversations that we hope to lead to further research and implementation of new projects. There are 3 focus areas in the initiative. We made sure that we have projects or tasks related to research and scholarship, others that focus on pedagogy and community engagement. For research and scholarship, we wanted to have a postdoctoral fellow whose area of research focuses on language and social justice. As I mentioned, this is not an area of research that exists at Rutgers as of now. We wanted to have a colloquium or a speaker series to bring in experts from outside of Rutgers. We also are developing a linguistic landscape website and database that we hope to be available in public for researchers and scholars doing research on language and social justice to use the data provided on those websites. In terms of pedagogy, we thought of having a minor in language and social justice, which we view to be interdisciplinary, and we hope to bring in different schools or different departments to participate in the development and offering of this minor. We also looked at developing a certificate on social justice in the language classroom that is a graduate certificate. Finally, in terms of community engagement, we thought, well, now we're bringing voices from outside to Rutgers. We want to take Rutgers' voice outside. So a podcast series on topics related to language and social justice seemed suitable. A webinar series at the beginning, and then we wanted to have resources available online for faculty who would like to implement topics of language and social justice in their teaching. So out of these initiative, the first thing that we wanted to do, because we had funding for this, we were able to hire Carly Dickerson, who, this is her bio, so I use her words. I emailed her to send me what she would like me to say about her. She is a graduate from Ohio State University with a degree in with a focus on with a degree in sociolinguistics with a focus on language and gender heritage speakers and Albanian language. She speaks Albanian, and she's she thinks that it's good that in New Jersey there is a large community of Albanian immigrants, so that gave her a chance to connect with that community and continue her research. Carly is continuing with us for 2 years, so she is on her 2nd year in this role, and she is doing a wonderful job. The colloquium series that we had, and we started in 2021, we combined this webinars with the colloquium series because, as I mentioned, it was the pandemic. We couldn't do anything in person. We couldn't bring people to campus as we wanted it initially to be, but instead we, had, like everyone, we had to do this online via Zoom. We had the series starting in spring 2021, continued until spring 2022. We had it opened to the public. We had made, for each of those sessions, we made time for undergraduate students to meet with the speakers. Before this session, we wanted this to inform the speakers of what our undergraduates know, what they would like to know, give the undergraduates a chance to, have that small, intimate conversation with the speakers. And instead of having to speak in public, on a Zoom with sometimes over 60 or 70 participants would be on the Zoom call. In spring 2021, we had our very first webinar or speaker series with my 2 esteemed colleagues, Nicole Hauser and Kristen Surratt, both are co-leaders of the initiative, and Kathleen Riley, who is a professor on linguistic ethnography at Rutgers. The focus of the first one was to present to the Rutgers community the interdisciplinarity in studying language and social justice. So the faculty who gave those talks, built on research done in different disciplines on language and social justice. After that, we had another talk by 3 speakers who also focused on the language and social justice in the classroom. So the first one was most of research oriented. The second session was more of pedagogy oriented. It was how these three faculty actually were implementing research and scholarly work in their teaching in the undergraduate education at Rutgers University. In fall of 2021, we were able to invite Nara Avenera. Nara is a professor in, if I remember correctly, it's in, she's in California. I'm sorry, I'm missing her university right now. Her talk was very engaging. Our students and our faculty actually took many ideas to implement topics of language and social justice in their teaching. In the spring of 2022, we were able to have a wonderful ensemble of faculty from different universities with different focus areas. Just to name a few, we have cognition and African-American English, solving the problem we created, linguistic inequality in higher education, linguistics for legal purposes, resetting boundaries as a way to push against essentialism and linguistics, addressing language marginalization in legal settings. And you can see that we have a focus on legal settings twice here. After that, we also parallel at the same time, we were working on the graduate certificate. So the certificate really meant to support professional teachers and other school counselors and other professionals in the public school system in New Jersey. It bridges between theory and practice because we didn't know the background that the teachers will have before they joined the certificate. We draw on multiple related bodies of literature in developing the certificate courses, including culturally responsive teaching, inclusive practices, pedagogy, multicultural education, anti-oppressive education, and critical pedagogy. The certificate is meant with the objectives are to build the foundation by helping teachers develop deeper understanding of how language relates to power and privilege, and then help with them as they continue to take courses to apply the skills and knowledge gained in the certificate in their teaching and show evidence in their coursework. And then at the end, they would develop or produce a portfolio or a capstone project that reflects ways in which they are planning to incorporate social justice in their teaching practices and or professional settings. So for this, the certificate had 12 credits, 2 required courses that were newly developed: interdisciplinary approaches to language and social justice. That course focused on historical and theoretical foundations. And the last course will be a community engagement project seminar. There were some possible electives that we offered: language and culture, language and society, bilingual bicultural education, culture and civilization of Latin America, and seminar topics in Hispanic linguistics. And the reason these 5 courses are mentioned here is because they came from the Graduate School of Education. One of the things we wanted to do is for the teachers who would complete the certificate, teachers with a bachelor or a master's degree who complete the certificate, that's 12 credits. And if they would like to add the rest to have 36 credits and receive a master's degree, we wanted to have a path for them to do so. So we had conversations with the director of the School of Education, Rutgers Graduate School of Education, to see if that was possible. We met with multiple faculty who really welcomed the idea of offering some electives if a teacher chooses to do the first 2 required and select from these 2 courses from these 5 possible electives, they can transfer the 12 credits into a master's degree. We also partnered with the MIT in Chinese and in French and German, that's for world language teachers, to also complete if they would like to take courses from these participating departments. But since they already are teachers, so they don't need to do an MIT in that case. For the podcast, so the podcast is an LIB production, you might say. We haven't, although this was one of the first things that I wanted to do when I first joined Rutgers, and it was just, there was no time to get it done. But we found that the initiative on language and social justice will give us a chance to combine the two initiatives together, or the two projects together, by offering a series of podcast series on heritage languages and speakers, gender identity and performance, endangered language, and revitalization efforts. And the last one is on translation. Of course, when you want to develop a podcast either in a school or in a higher ed institute, you want to bring topics that are interesting to the community, but also interesting to the faculty, the faculty who will engage in those conversations on the podcast. In our case, we wanted a podcast that focuses on the students. So on all 4 topics, we invite faculty to have the conversation with Rutgers students. So Rutgers students are the speakers. They're sharing their stories, they're sharing their language learning experiences, they're sharing their critical incidents that they have they experienced in their life related to language and social justice. I'm really happy to say that the podcast is in production. So very, very soon, like within 6 weeks, I would say, we'll be able to launch the very first one. And we're very excited to have this out. And our goal really here is to, once the series is out, and we're planning to monitor the responses and the reaction from the listeners, so that the next topics will answer questions that come in those responses. And it's a way also to keep our listeners engaged, so that they know that their topics and their voices are heard. So as I mentioned, for this initiative, we had 3 focus areas: research and scholarship, pedagogy, and community engagement. The ones that I have in different color and orange are the projects that are complete or in the way to be completed: the postdoc fellow, the colloquium or speaker series, the graduate certificate, the podcast, and the webinar. And I forgot to mention that the graduate certificate, we actually submitted a proposal for a grant to support the teachers who will sign up for the certificate to start in the spring, so that we can reimburse them or subsidize the costs for the public school teachers. And we received a grant from the Institute of Global Racial Justice at Rutgers University for that. The 3 pieces that are left are the linguistic landscape website and database. And you can imagine this is a huge project. This is not a 1 year, it's a multi-year project. It's still in progress. The interdisciplinary minor in language and social justice, we have some of the courses developed, but the proposal itself has not been submitted yet. And then the resources website or webpage, we haven't developed that yet. We have some resources combined from contributions from some faculty, but we haven't put this online yet. In addition to these 3 projects that are coming up as part of the initiative, we also wanted to add a professional development workshops and consultations for faculty across disciplines for addressing linguistic discrimination in the classroom and the curriculum. And these will be open to Rutgers faculty across the 5 campuses, for them to have a chance to look at possible practical ways, pedagogical ways of addressing linguistic discrimination in their teaching and in the courses and in the curriculum that they use. Our goal is for this to be interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary conversation. We have, right now, the planning is to offer multiple workshops to in different disciplines. So one would be for the health in the health services, one would be related to the legal system, one would be in social work, so that we can engage with the faculty in those departments and those programs. And this is my talk.
Great.
Thank you for listening.
Great. Thank you so much, Doa. Very interesting. We'll open it up to questions if anyone has them at this point. We could ask if you could either unmute your mic or raise your hand. I guess it'd be easier if you just unmuted your mic and gave your question out loud if you had one for Doa. I had a question, so I wanted to ask you more. I know that you touched on it briefly, but I was very interested in this minor in language and social justice. And I know you haven't finished it yet, and you're working on it. But what are some of the aspects of that that you see coming together? Who will that be for, and how big will that be? How many students do you think would be interested in that? How many classes would be in a minor at Rutgers? Maybe you could talk more about that a little bit.
Right. Sure. So it's just an anticipation for this question. I have a list of minor courses that we are developing. These are new courses that are being developed to be offered in the minor: language and race, and culture and the brain, the languages that surround us, my language, my story. And these two, number 3 and number 4, are geared toward engaging Rutgers students in doing field research. These courses are already developed. Number 3, the language that surrounds us, is already being offered as one of our signature courses. Language, culture, and the brain also is developed. Language and social justice learning community is built and also to be research-based, community research-based, for Rutgers students to go out in the community, engage in collecting data. So doing research, basically research-based, collecting data, analyzing them, and as they learn from heritage speakers in New Brunswick. Language and power, linguistic and cultural identity negotiation, and narratives on diversity and inclusion, just to give a few of the new courses that we would like to see offered in the minor. The minor, interesting. When we started talking about having a minor in language and social justice, our vision for this minor was for it to be an interdisciplinary, to be housed in a department that would allow for other departments to be engaged in the development of the minor itself, not in just offering courses from outside. And it was one time that after we made that announcement, that we actually started receiving emails and requests but basically people asked to be part of this conversation, which is great considering how huge Rutgers is. One of the things that we noticed is that many of those departments really would like to also be informed about how they can integrate language and social justice topics in their curriculum, even if it's not in the minor, which something that we welcome, that we were happy to see. So Rutgers, we see that the minor will continue to be offered, will be offered in the School of Arts and Sciences, hopefully within the humanities. We also, we don't have a specific number of who might be interested in this, but based on the number of the participating departments so far, we have gender and women studies, communication, philosophy, English, of course, linguistics. I'm thinking of what else. There are 2 others that I'm missing right now. But thinking about how large these departments already are, we don't see a problem for the courses, for the minor to be really populated very quickly. The other good sign that we saw is that the courses that are developed and being offered, like, the language that's around us, or my language, my story, these courses are very popular among undergrads. And the students who participate in those courses engage in doing actual research in the community, or engage in collecting data about linguistic diversity in New Brunswick and in New Jersey. So we see interest from the students and we see interest from the faculty. And the only reason this minor the proposal is not in place is because there is no time to get all of this done. We started officially in the spring of 2021. And so that gave us a 1.5 years so far working on the minor, and working on the different projects in the initiative. So the minor is just taking, sort of like taking its time to be developed. However, most of the courses are developed, and the way it works in Rutgers is that courses will be approved first, and then the proposal for the minor will go in. So that's what's holding us just time.
How big is a minor at Rutgers? How many credits?
Let me see. I think 60.
16?
No, I think 60 something, 62.
62 credits.
No, yeah, I think around that, or maybe 52 if I'm missing that. 52 or 62. I don't remember which one.
Oh my gosh, so it's huge. It's half the size of a major.
I think so. Let me, if you want, I can look this
No,
up.
I just, at my school, it's very different. I didn't realize that that minors were that. So how many classes is in a 62 credit minor?
It will depend if the class is two credits or 4 credits. So it, it could be 2 credits course. Like my language, my story is a 1 credit, 1.5 credit. So it is a very small. It could be more than, I can't give a number because the way we see it is that the languages that surround us is, I do believe it's 2 credits. My language, my story is 1.5 credit. We see that language, culture, and the brain is actually a 3 credit course. So it varies depending on how many, and these courses will not all be required. So students will have a chance to take courses offered already in other departments. So depending on how many credits each of these courses are.
Right. Are there minors that are similar to this, like a minor in linguistics or a minor in sociolinguistics?
No, well, Rutgers doesn't have sociolinguistics, unfortunately. That's what we're trying to do. But the Gender and Women Studies has a minor on Gender and Women Studies, Language and Social Justice, with a focus on language and social justice in it. So yes, there is one already similar, and many of the courses there are offered as electives. And would be electives in this minor. So students can double between 2 different departments.
Very interesting.
Minors, you probably know this, developing a minor, getting it approved is a very long process because we have to consider how many credits a student has to take, whether or not there are faculty who teach that many courses, and it is a lot of planning and advising that decisions that I can't control, but we're just working through the system, doing one requirement at a time.
So there's another question from Fatima. It's in the chat. Fatima, do you want to ask the question out loud so everyone can hear you or understand the question? Or do you want to just put it in the chat? I'm sorry, I can't talk. Okay. So you can see do you want to read the question and then answer it?
Sure. So the question is, would you please share if there is any chance to be part of this initiative? Whom do we need to contact? If you want to be part of the initiative, feel free to contact me. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. Even if you don't want to be part of the initiative, if you have any questions, feel free to email me afterwards. There are ways of participating in the initiative. If you want to, let's say, if you would like to propose an episode on the podcast, I can see this to be possible. If you would like to propose a topic and you yourself are, an expert in this and you would like to, share your expertise in this, that would be great. Actually, we would welcome something like that. I can see also, I can't say that there will be an idea that you can come and teach a course because that's probably something that's not my decision. I can't make the decision. If you see that there is also something here that interests you, that you say, if you have some publications of your own, if you have done some research that you think would be a good resource that we can share with the faculty at Rutgers, that would be great. I would actually welcome something like this. You can email me, email language.justice@rutgers.edu, or email me Doa, my email, the first slide. I'm trying to think of other ways other than giving a talk, participating in the podcast, or sharing some of your resources that we can use on our website. If you have any ideas for anything that you think that is suitable to you, I can't really speak to your area of expertise, but if there is anything that I shared today that you think, okay, I can really contribute here, or I can be part of this, feel free to email me. If it works, that's great. If it doesn't, then at least, we made a friend from our end.
So I see Nikki has put into the chat a link to the recordings of the speakers in this series.
Right.
Thank you, Nikki. Thank you very much, Nikki Ashcraft. You mentioned the speakers that were in other years. Did you? I wasn't sure because the slides are not up. Did you talk about the speakers that are happening this year, or that you hope to have in the future?
No, so what we did is that we had the speakers series started in fall of 2020, in spring 2021. And we had two talks at the time, one the following semester, and then 5 talks, I think 5 talks or 6 talks the following semester. And what we wanted to do is, instead of, so up until that point, we were bringing people who have done research or implemented research of language and social justice in their teaching. What we would like to do for the next phase is to offer Rutgers faculty a chance to basically learn about how to do so in their curriculum. So that's where the professional development training. Let me see if the professional development workshops and consultations come to be. So we're replacing one with the other. There is no reason to say that we will not be able to offer any speaker series in the future. If anything, what we would like to see is to see how the impact of the workshops on the Rutgers community, and then probably even support a different series of speakers, speaker series in the future, in the near future, to address any of the topics, the challenges, any gaps that we find during the training, that we ourselves are not experts in that area, but somebody from outside can definitely come and present. Yeah.
How do you measure that impact? Do you have a particular instrument that you're using for that, or how will the impact of the series or the consultations be measured, or do you have a system for that yet?
We don't have a system for impact, and I think we hope that we'll see implementation in terms of faculty actually either doing research and producing research, or teaching, so they're developing their curriculum or changing their curriculum to do so. It would be really good to see find a way to do that. So at least to collect information. Ask the participants maybe 3 months after the workshop to see if there are any of the topics. That's a good point. Yeah.
Just might be an interesting area for research in itself to see what kinds of changes came about because of the intervention.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Other questions from the group?
Nikki mentioned that she found the recordings. I do believe there are 1 or 2 that are missing, but most of them are on the website. Yes. And we found them on that link. So most of the of the webinars that we had so far, we had posted the recordings on the website.
Are there other schools that are doing similar kinds of interdisciplinary social justice and language initiatives like this?
I do believe Princeton.
Is that Boston?
No, that's here in New Jersey.
Oh, what was it called?
Princeton.
Oh, I don't know it.
All right, let me write it down. Maybe my pronunciation.
No. There's a lot of schools out there. Who knows? Princeton. Oh.
Yeah. So they do have a colloquium. They had a colloquium, I think, last year or the year before, addressing different topics related to language and social justice. I was looking at their website recently, really. They're very, very interesting topics. They are doing, I do believe what they had was faculty at Princeton reporting on the research or collaborative research with other experts in the field. So that could be a good resource for somebody who is interested to see what other universities have been doing. I do believe that University of California is doing something. So I can see that there is an increased interest in the area of language and social justice, and that makes it really our responsibility to just keep pushing. If we don't speak up and put linguistic diversity and linguistic discrimination and at the same equal importance as racial discrimination, then it will be forgotten. And it's our role. I mean, we are the language experts. This is our field. We can't wait until somebody else speaks on our behalf. all we can do is to, just continue what we're doing, continue to put our interest in having those types of conversations out there, and hope that, our institutions or other institutions will respond the right way to do this. There are ways, there are people who, enjoy publishing, it's just short piece and in a newsletter can make a lot of impact, because it reaches the people who can make the decision. It doesn't have to, we don't have to wait until, research is done and published in a scholarly paper and another professor will read it and do another research. We still want to do something on the ground. And I think those types of initiatives, the language and social justice and other similar ones, are where we bring that theory into practice in one place. And I hope we can do that in this initiative.
Well, speaking of that, it's actually a question I had as well. I don't mean to dominate the questions, but if anyone has other questions, just jump in. But I just had a question as you were speaking, and I was wondering, is there a graduate program in TESOL or bilingual education or language education at your campus? And if so, what is the interaction with that group? Yeah.
Right. So the Graduate School of Education at Rutgers does offer, graduate teaching certificate in content area in ESOL and ESOL endorsement. So there is a graduate program for TESOL teachers. There is the way Graduate School of Education is a sort of an independent unit in Rutgers. We work with them, but our offerings are different. The language engagement project is geared toward undergrads. However, also the Graduate School of Education offers a five years program for undergrads to complete and finish with a graduate degree in teaching. The MAT in world languages tended to be housed in the different language departments, not in the Graduate School of Education, although they are, so you have to find a way to navigate those relationships. And the good thing about what we do is that we can do this since we are not centralized. We're actually looking for more of an interdisciplinary, more of collaborative kind of work on Rutgers, and we're happy to see that there is a positive response from those departments. Like I mentioned, when we did this graduate certificate, the Graduate School of Education worked with us really closely to make sure that there are pathways for the participating teachers to complete with a master's, and they'll be able to transfer those 12 credits into the master's if they wish to do so. Other courses, the courses are also offered as electives, and we're happy to see that they're willing to, take our students in their courses and vice versa.
Yeah, very interesting. Other questions for Doa?
I would like to, I keep thinking about this question about the minor at Rutgers, how many credits, and I can't believe that I'm missing that.
Every school's got a different number.
I know. And I found that I found that I am still thinking UMBC's, sorry, I was wrong. It's 18 credits. Now that's a much different one. 18 credits, yeah.
18 credits or money. And that could be, your classes sound like they could be 1 credit or 2 credits, or there's a whole range of number of credits involved with that.
Correct, yes. And they have to be, 9 of them have to be above the 100 level, and the rest will have to be between 300 and 400 level, which means that the 100 will be 1 credit, 1.5 credit. The 300 and 400 will definitely be 3 credits. So,
yeah, right.
So the number of courses will vary because of that. How did I get 62?
No, it's maybe because you're thinking about half of the major. Yeah, at my school it's 16, and usually those are 4 credit classes, so it's pretty straightforward for them. And like your school, 2 of them have to be above the upper division, and one of them, 2 of the others can be lower division.
Yeah.
So there's another question to everyone. My language, my story, please detail. May I send scholarly paper on this topic to be published? I don't know.
Yes, but I'm happy to pass the, you mean, okay, you mean it's a paper that is already published? If it's already published, excuse me, I can pass the article to the instructor who teaches the course. I don't see why not. I don't see them not, sometimes we do our research to get material for a course, but there is no way that you can read everything, find everything that is suitable. If it's suitable for undergrad students and for the topic, definitely yes, please do. And that goes to everyone else.
And so this course, this language, my story is I thought it was students themselves doing this, but
Yes.
they're reading, they are?
So the students for my language, my story, it's a course that allows students who are heritage speakers of languages other than English to write about their story of basically what they do is they do a little research of project on, they interview their families, they interview people in their community about the language. They basically have to come up with a research question, collect data from those interviews, and so do some analysis and report them. The course is actually offered to first year students. So they have, I would say, limited experience doing research in higher ed. And we try to allow them the chance to practice what they know in doing research with language. So they're writing their own stories in this. The language that surrounds us course is the opposite of this, where the students basically are doing research about the languages in New Brunswick. So yes, they do still do interviews. They sometimes collect data about which language is more dominant. Why is it more dominant? For example, if there are, all the stores out there use X language more than another language. There's always more Mandarin or Chinese stores, and you can see the signs in there, the signs on the streets, the products, whatever it is that they find to be evidence of a language more prevailing than others, and why, the number of the community that speak the language, and then we try to help the students make the connection between that language that exists in the community and whether or not that language is offered at Rutgers. Because we have a huge population of Chinese students at Rutgers, and we also see that many students who are not native speakers of Chinese take Chinese because they always see Chinese students, they interact with them, so Chinese always is on the radar. Now you see other languages, you don't have that many students who would like to learn that language simply because it's not around us. Sometimes just simply out of sight or mind. So the two courses sort of like, they feed into each other in a sense that the students complete the work for both courses, but in one of them, they're telling their own stories. In the other course, they're telling someone else's story. They're telling the story of the community and the language in that community.
Interesting. The Chinese students at Rutgers, are they international students, or are they
international students?
International students? They're not necessarily residents of New Jersey, or
some of them are. I wouldn't say that they are all Rutgers, but the majority of them are international students.
I see. Has that gone down a lot with the pandemic?
It was affected like every other university with the pandemic. Many students couldn't travel from their country, but Rutgers was really good at addressing this. We not me, I mean Rutgers. Rutgers Global came up with a project called the Rose Program. It's a program that allowed Chinese students to take classes in Rutgers either remotely or in person in China with our participating universities. So it's not part of the initiative that I'm talking about now, but I'm happy to answer that. It was so we partnered with some universities in China where the students will take classes there, but they are Rutgers classes, so they are counting credits toward us. Some of them were online courses as well. When they did the online, we wanted to make sure that the students have support and how to. The kind of support that you get naturally by being in the environment. So if they were here in New Brunswick, what kind of skills that they would learn from each other. So, so having that body system, someone to answer questions about how to time management, address questions and assignments, ask faculty questions, interact with colleagues and classmates and faculty. All of these skills were built in some sort of a training program for those students. that, continued with them for the past 2 years or 2.5 years. Yeah. It was a
Interesting.
very successful program. I can say that.
It's great. Are there other questions from the group for DOA on this topic?
As I said, if you have any questions and any suggestions, please email me. I'm going to put my email again here in the chat.
In the chat.
It's
Great,
also on the first slide, but it's here in the chat.
Great. So anyone who has any questions for DOA outside of this meeting can email her directly at her email, which is in the chat right there. As I said earlier, this recording will be sent to all of you. It will also be posted on the TESOL YouTube channel for anyone to watch in the future. And so it would be another way for additional conversation or information about this really interesting and important initiative that DOA has been so generous to talk about this morning here for all of us. And I want to thank you all for coming and joining us this morning for our Teacher Education Intersection webinar on the Language and Social Justice Initiative at Rutgers University. And as my great big thanks to Rashed, who's from Rutgers, for taking the time to talk to us this morning about the initiative and to answer our questions. I think it's been very interesting. And thank you all for joining us. Again, we have another webinar coming up in just about a month, on the 16th of November. We'll be talking about pragmatics in language teacher education, and that'll be on, as I said, on the 16th of November. I'll send out an announcement about that to the TESOL listserv in the next week or two. Thank you all again very much for joining us. My name is James Whiting. I'm the chair of the Language Teacher Education Intersection at TESOL. And if you have any thoughts about today's webinar, or you'd like to present one of your own, we're always trying to schedule these and to have as many people as possible share their research and their expertise, as DOA has so generously done this morning for us. And as Nikki Ashcraft, who is with us this morning, has done earlier in June. So thank you all again for joining us, and I hope to see you again in the future.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
And thanks everyone for being here. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Yes.